This is an MCQ on collision of two bodies. The question is, what is the value of coefficient of restitution of a perfectly plastic impact? Option A 0, option B 1, option C 2, option D infinity. So as we know, the coefficient of restitution is expressed in terms of small e, which is equal to the ratio of relative velocity of separation to relative velocity of approach. So if two particles are moving with initial velocities u1 and u2 and final velocities, that means after collision v1 and v2, then the ratio of v2 difference v1 to u1 difference u2, that is the algebraic differences. So this ratio is the coefficient of restitution. So for perfectly elastic collision, there is no dissipation of energy, no loss of energy. The entire energy before collision will be restored after collision. So the relative velocity of separation is equal to the relative velocity of approach. So the value of coefficient of restitution is 1 for perfectly elastic collision, and the coefficient of restitution is 0 for perfectly plastic collision. Why? Because in case of perfectly plastic collision, the relative velocity of separation is 0, because for plastic collision the two bodies are a single moving body and a resting wall, suppose. So if a part of clay, we throw a part of clay to a resting wall, rigid wall, so it will stick to the wall. It cannot regain its energy, its velocity after collision. So after collision, the mutual velocity is 0, relative velocity is 0. So that's the reason the coefficient of restitution for perfectly plastic collision is 0, and it is in between 0 to 1 for partly elastic collision. So all the real life collisions are partly elastic collisions. Okay, so clearly the A is the answer of this question. Therefore, answer is A, 0.